Hey there! Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Man Man with the Show. I'm Zane, your host. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, liking, supporting, especially in this phase one situation here in New York. We have whatever phase you're in, phase two, phase three, phase 32, whatever you want to call it. It's just been insane lately on there, and there's been a lot of stories. We're playing a lot of catch up. There's some stories a little bit behind, a little bit we're forward, or we're on target on a lot of our stories. So we're catching up. We're doing our best. Like I said, we're limited in staff. We're starting to put the staff back together again. So basically, things will start to get back to normal eventually. So we got some more Disney here. And we've been discussing a lot of this. We have the Disney reopening this, or Universal, just in the past, when this was recorded in the past week, has reopened to, I would have to say, average, not too average, but light to average attendance. Whereas the reservation, because you know now that most of the amusement parks, Six Flags, Universal, Disney, they'll be going through a reservation system. Whereas even if you have a yearly pass, you got to call in to reserve your date to go in. But it seems like at Universal, it's not needed. I mean, it's basically there have been footage online where the Hagrid's roller coaster has gone with maybe 3-4 people on the coaster on itself. This is coming from 90 minutes, hour, 2-3 hour waits for Hagrid's coaster, which I looked. It's a great ride. I wish I had time to go down there. But it's been raining down there also, so I think it'd be avoid the south for a little bit. And especially considering that a good amount of the population of Manhattan and the outer boroughs have moved down there during this COVID situation. But that's another thing on another side. We won't discuss that. But one thing we will discuss is as we get closer to the opening of Walt Disney World, EPCOT Center, which basically they'll be opening up in... It's July 11th, July 15th. Magic Kingdom will open up, and Animal Kingdom will open up on the 11th. Epcot will be on the 15th with Hollywood Studios. One thing we want to discuss, and this is one thing that has come up, and I've caught this on some of the chat rooms. What is going to happen now when they reopen up, especially Epcot's World Showcase? What happened to the staff? Because a lot of the staff are from outside the country. You have the ones from China that's there, Japan, Norway, England, France. You have Morocco. You have a lot of people from different countries who work at Epcot Center, and basically, it's a cultural diversity on there, and you can call it diverse on there because it is. You have people there, the cooks, people on the rides and stuff like that, walking around, the people that handles the music and the dancing and all that. And you have all these people that's all there. What has happened to them? Well, the thing about it is when this whole pandemic started, most of them were sent back home. Yeah, that's right, folks. Most of them were sent back to their country of origins on there. Probably some did stay if they were able to stay, but unfortunately, I think when they furloughed everybody, one thing that when you're working for a company and you're from outside the country coming in, the stipulation is you got to be working to stay in the country, and if you're not working, basically they send you back home. And I guess Disney sent all these people packing back home again. So you have to ask yourself, with some of the bans in place where, there's not so many flights that are coming from overseas, what's going to happen now? Well, the bad news is basically there will be no cultural representatives at the World Showcase when it reopens. That's a sad thing. I mean, there will be a staff there. Probably that some that were able to stay will be coming back, but most of them won't be back for a while until basically everything opens up again. I mean, because basically it's hard to get back in and out of the United States right now, depending on what country you're from, because of the COVID situation on there. Disney has reached an agreement with the union to reopen without them, and I'm shocked that there is a union. I never knew that there was a union for this, because Florida is a non-union state, but I guess they were able, because Disney is an entity in itself on there, or a city in itself. So I guess there are unions in there, but most of all, it's like that's the one thing we're going to be missing for when the park reopens, is that, that was nice. It was nice to see, you be able to talk to someone from the country, and they were able to explain life in their country and all that. I know I talked with the Norwegian adventure last time I learned some things on there when I went on that ride a long time ago, many years ago, because when I used to live in Florida. It was fun to go into World Showcase because you had all this, diversity of food, rich food and stuff like that from all these countries and all that, especially, and the beer, of course, if you see that episode of Roseanne where they had a yard of beer there. So, not saying I drink a lot, but it's nice to have a nice tall glass of beer every once in a while. And if it's a yard of beer, oh my God. If you've not seen a yard of beer, whoo, that is, I remember a bar near me, near where I used to work on Columbus Avenue, that used to sell it that way too. So, and my boss used to go in there and he used to suck one down that way as well. But, you look at this perspective, how Disney's going to operate World Showcase without these people, and I hope they do a good job of it. But there's a lot of things that are going to be not going around, in other words, there's going to be a lot of minus stuff that they can't do. For example, we're not going to have those shows and fireworks and spectaculars that they normally do have in the parade, because supposedly they canceled the parades, they canceled the fireworks, they canceled, a lot of the musical stuff that's going on through there, which would attract a large crowd together. So in a way, even though you didn't have the cultural representative, they wouldn't be able to do some of the things that they normally do. Like, when you have the music and the dancing in the Moroccan section, you won't be able to have that. The music will be playing, but the thing about it is you can't have all these people around you as well. And, in fact, Disney has put they're calling it a social distance squad, which is basically made by cast members. They're very enthusiastic, and they just walk around reminding to practice social distance. And it's probably going to be similar to what's going on in Universal. I've seen some footage where they're standing on platforms and they're yelling on, "Hey, how you doing? Make sure you got your mask on. Make sure, stay the social distancing, blah, blah, blah." They have also some of the characters, like they have the Wolverine and Rogue characters on those stages as well. In fact, it's going to be harder to get pictures with, character pictures on there, because I know from the Singapore Disney, they're just hanging around up on the castle, waving down to everybody. And basically, they're not taking pictures with anybody, the character pictures are signing on that. They're maintaining their distance on there. And, these are the things that we're going to have to go through for a while. I mean, I don't know how long with this situation, I mean, there's a lot you can say. And, they think a lot of people are stupid at the situation on there. And you could say what you want, keeping people at home and keeping them doing this and keeping them doing that. But, you're dealing with a situation that should have been resolved very quickly, and people took their time on that because there was so much misinformation given, and it's created a paranoia. And, we're not going to go into it. This is something like for my American show that I have on the other part of this channel, which we put on hold. Maybe we'll discuss that, when the show comes back on there. But most of all, it's a shame that we're not going to get cultural representation at the EPCOT Center. So hopefully things will improve down the line, and they'll be able to bring back those people, those employees, because those are people that who were very good, and they were, they were not a problem. They were people who worked for Disney, and they got paid and all that. What are they doing back home? Are they working? Are they declaring their version of unemployment, or what they're doing? What are the ones that were able to stay doing? Because I don't know if they are able to collect unemployment on this end. I mean, most likely, a lot of them did go home. Most of them did go home. How much of a percentile stayed? It's hard to say, because I tell you, Central Florida. One thing about, if you've never been to Central Florida, down the Orlando range, that's like pretty much, it's like New York City, downtown New York, Manhattan. It is literally, just tourist. And everything is gauged to the tourists. Even though, like, the difference is with Manhattan, you have the business district and all that there. But Orlando, you have the small section, which is like, where everybody lives. But everything else is SeaWorld, Disney, Universal, and every other company, park, Ripley's, hotels, restaurants, smaller parks, miniature golf, all that. It's all gauged for that area. And when you shut everything down, and there are videos, you can look online, there are videos of guys who have driven around before, during, and now, showing what is like, what's open, what's closed, how they're handling it, what, places that have rides, what are they doing. And you can see the difference, because one thing about, and I've stayed on I-5 many a times, it's a great place to stay. There were a lot of good hotels in there, and it was better than staying in the park. But I'm told now that it's the inside Disney, the hotels are much better than outside. But I'll still stay outside on there, because at least I'll be able to see everything. But you close everything up, and there's nothing. There's like literally nothing. I mean, literally, if you're at the hotel, you got to go home, because there's nothing open for you to get. I mean, closest thing, you get food at that time period probably was like the 7-Eleven or the mini markets that they have there, and it's not many. You would have to travel all the way into downtown Orlando just to get it. I don't even know if the buses were running, because there are buses now that go in and out of downtown Orlando. Now, when I was there, they were just starting to put a downtown Orlando line in. So, comment below. Tell me, how do you feel about this? How do you feel that there's going to be no cultural representation at the World Showcase at EPCOT? How do you feel about that? Because, that kind of makes me sad on there that we can't have any of that. But then again, a lot of the stuff that they did, they can't do because of the social distancing rules. So, comment down on the line below. Subscribe, like, our support descriptions are in the description below on there. If you feel free to help support this channel, we do appreciate that. And those who have, thank you very much. Until next time, thank you for tuning in, and have a good one. Stay safe, stay healthy.